Billionaires lining the pockets of politicians is nothing new, but now they're doing it at record highs ahead of the midterms. Take a look at this headline from Common Dreams. Drowning our democracy, US billionaires have pumped, Lord have mercy on my soul, almost $1 million into the midterms. Yeah, that's what they did. Billionaires represent, you see that 0.0000002% of the American population, but they're responsible for 7.4% of all political donations so far this cycle, according to Americans for Tax Fairness. Let me just break this down for you in simple terms. The corporate states of America and democracy is for sale. So between the ultra wealthy putting their whole bodies on the scale, not just their foot on the scale, like their whole body on the scale. And then you got these election deniers and people like President Trump out there. We are being suffocated in ways that many of us have not ever seen in our lifetime. Maybe some of our elders have seen something close to this, but others of us have never lived through anything quite like this. This is a 911. 911, what's your emergency? Democracy is being choked out between money and the craziness of Trump and others of his minions who have power. Democracy is being choked out. Please send help. We're that help, as daunting as it may be. Mike, go ahead, jump on in.
Yeah, so another interesting thing about that study is that they collected the data 5 weeks ago. So by now, it could have already surpassed $1 billion. And of the top 20 billionaire contributors, 6 of them donate to Democrats, whereas the other 14 donate to Republicans. So what they are doing effectively is they are brainwashing people, because you are able to win elections more easier if you get the message out. So if you see somebody's message on TV, you hear it on the radio, you see a billboard, well, you're going to at least identify that person. Perhaps you don't necessarily agree with the policies. Perhaps they don't even say their policies, but at least you know their name. Name recognition goes a long way. And so other studies have shown that a majority of the time, the candidate with most money ends up winning these races. So basically, and this is not hyperbole, billionaires are just buying elections. That's what's happening. Yeah. And after Citizens United was decided by the Supreme Court in 2010, billionaires spent 32 million. By the next midterm, which was 2014, they spent 200 million more, so 232 billion. And then in 2018, it was almost 700 million. We're talking millions right now. So in 2014, it was 232 million. And now with this election, it could be $1 billion by now.
Could be $1 billion, yeah.
It's insanity. Absolutely. And people know that money in politics is an issue, but I don't think they truly grasp how it is just ubiquitous in politics, from congressional races to local judge races. It is everywhere. And I mean, imagine you are an elected official. Somebody gives you $1 million to your super PAC, but you have this person who gave you $5. Who are you gonna listen to? It's just human nature. You're gonna listen to the person who did the biggest favor for you. So this is drowning out our voices, and billionaires are effectively buying off elections, and they're getting a return on that investment, by the way, which is really important. So the Americans for Tax Fairness, who conducted this analysis on Twitter, they have a really interesting thread. I'd recommend everyone check it out. So they talk about how Ken Griffin is one of the billionaires who's buying out, elections, and he is fighting. He's spending lots of money to fight increases on taxes to wealthy people. There's another rich family who they spent, like, I don't know how much it was like 20 million into electing Ron Johnson, and they got him to something in Congress that would have elevated their taxes. It's so brazen. It's so brazen. So this is an investment, and they're getting returns on that investment, and it's killing our democracy. So it's deeply, deeply unsettling to see this happen just in broad daylight.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Citizens United, and that's not the only case that started chipping away at this, but certainly saying that money is speech. And the more money you have, I mean, it's hard to argue because we're seeing it happen in our life in real time. The more money you have, the more speech. Almost $1 billion spent. Let's put up this graph right now that shows how this spending has, and Mike was right ahead of us on this, how it has amped up over time. and you see that $881 million, we are almost at the $1 billion mark right now. And as Mike laid out, we might be over that billion mark as we speak. So who are these billionaires that insert themselves into the body politic in this way? I'm glad you asked us. We're gonna list them, so many of them, but we're gonna put them up here right now. That is really small. But here are the top 20 who have made politics a monopoly board for themselves. And guess what, sisters and brothers and family and friends, they want something for this. They're not just giving this money out of the kindness of their heart. They want a return on their investment. Hence, this is how they can buy off politicians. Why is it that the majority of the policies that we the people want never really get passed, even though the majority of people want such policies, regardless of their political affiliation? It is because of people like this. More money in this country gives you more speech. And so they get a chance to lord over everybody else. Like, I remember it was a time, and this was, oh my God, maybe 2 years ago, and I used the word oligarchs. I forget which one of the mainstream media networks I was on, and this other person who I will not name went at, he was defending them as if he was one. How dare you use the word oligarch? I thought, luckily we were not in the same studio, but he gave me the impression that we were side by side. He was gonna try to jump on me or something like that. He was defending these folks. And here we are in this moment. What else can you call these folks other than oligarchs?
Yeah, I think that the only reason why you defend what's happening, you defend these billionaires, is because you have this mistaken belief that, well, what if you're a billionaire one day? You don't want everyone to demonize you. You don't want your taxes to go up. But I promise you, everyone watching right now, I'm making you this promise, and this is very sad. You will never be a billionaire. You are statistically more likely to get bitten by a shark and struck by lightning than to become a billionaire. So to let them get away with this, it's not acceptable. And there's bipartisan support for not very much things, but when it comes to taxing the rich, there is, believe it or not, a lot of bipartisan support, but somehow it never happens. And this is because billionaires are buying elections and they are influencing the policies that get passed. So if you wonder why a policy that's so popular like taxing the rich isn't getting codified into law, well, now you know why. It's studies like this that confirm it's because they're in charge. They're the puppeteers.
They are, and we want to thank Americans for tax fairness. And the patriotic millionaires, it's a few of them out there, but they have this wonderful graph that really shows, it really makes the point that you just made, Mike, which is you have a greater chance you're closer to the poorest person than you are to people like that. Now, I know it's a shocker. I know you might need to sit down, but that is the truth. Absolutely the truth. And then why would you want to be in a club of folks who actually, among those folks, really don't give a damn about the people? That's not the kind of club you should want to be in, even if you aspire to have that kind of money. But trust and believe. Mike laid it out. Other folks have laid it out. Don't believe the hype. All right. And we need to have a representative democracy that allows the greatest number of people to live out their greatest greatness. And that is not happening in this moment. And thank God that we do have some ultra wealthy people who see that and who understand that. And the patriotic millionaires are such a group.